Because we're acting, emissions of mercury and other pollutants, which cause a range of health problems, including neurological damage in children, will decrease significantly. In fact, we estimate we'll prevent thousands of premature deaths, heart attacks, and thousands of cases of asthma in children each year by 2016.
Frightening moments at an elementary school in Worcester.
It all started when a student brought a Mercury with him to class. Sky 5 over the Grafton Street School. The Worcester Fire Department is taking no chances with their response, and our Jack Harper is there, live on the ground. So, Jack, it may sound like a simple question, but were students ever in danger?
Well, 5 were exposed, and we're outside the Grafton Street Elementary School now. These hazmat teams have been here all day long. It was pretty disconcerting for a lot of parents. We're told that one student brought this small amount of mercury in. He actually opened it up, took it out of the bottle, and showed it to others. And this basically is a case of show and tell going bad. That was the word on the street. Concerned parents gathering outside Grafton Elementary after the fire department and hazmat teams went inside.
I honestly believe the teachers should have came out of the school and said, listen, we got a crowd down there, you know, everything's fine. At least give the parents some kind of closure. It's fine.
Dr. Moore says the 5 kids who were exposed should not have any health concerns down the road. They will be monitored because this mercury was never heated up. They had a series of meetings here for the bulk of the afternoon, and it was decided by city officials they're going to be here tomorrow morning when the kids arrive. They're going to get them coming in, test all their clothes, see if there's any mercury still on them. If there is something on the clothes, they will remove them and replace them. Again, they're sending a message out to parents tonight, late in the minds of some parents, but the word is getting out now. In Worcester, I'm Jack Harper, News Center 5.
Potentially dangerous exposure to mercury has led to extreme measures at a Worcester elementary school. Good afternoon, everyone. Hazmat specialists screened kids as they arrived at the Grafton Street School this morning. News Center 5's Steve Lacey is live in Worcester. So, Steve, quite an ordeal for those kids this morning, huh?
Well, that's for sure, Susan. There are 2 buildings here at the Grafton Street School. Behind me, off to my right, you can see the windows are open. That's where the exposure occurred. Right now, hazmat crews are going through and decontaminating. But even for students in the building to my left, which is open, just getting to school this morning was quite an adventure.
Hazardous material specialists screening students on their way into the Grafton Street Elementary School this morning in Worcester.
They're doing like a metal detector type thing, I guess, just to see if there's any metal that was detected on their clothing or and their sneakers, and going through their backpacks just to see if any of their belongings have any of the mercury on them.
Yeah.
And then the bags also are what they wore from the day before.
After being screened this morning, 240 students, grades 3 through 6, were bused from the spill site to a city-owned learning center downtown where they will attend classes until the decontamination is complete.
And to give you an idea of how long this screening process took, the students were bused to their temporary school at around 10 o'clock this morning. At some point today, they will have to go through urine testing to make sure no one else was exposed to mercury. As for when that school will reopen, right now, they're not sure. We're live in Worcester. Steve Lacey, News Center 5.
All right.
A Worcester school taking some extreme measures today to protect students. It all comes after a student spilled mercury inside of that building there.
We're there. News Center 5's Kimberly Bookman's at the school this morning. And Kimberly, several students actually came into contact with that dangerous substance, didn't they?
This is the building we're talking about, and crews are on the scene at this hour still cleaning up. Fire officials say that a 6th grade boy was showing the substance to other students in the hallway when a few drops spilled out. Environmental and hazmat crews responded to the Grafton Street School and decontaminated it. Meantime, those that were exposed were tested and reportedly only had mercury on their clothes, but there was no mercury on their bodies. Still, the school called all parents and advised them that all clothing should be aired out and students should take showers when they got home.
Special teams are testing dozens of homes in Worcester this weekend. They're looking for traces of mercury. The potentially dangerous element was spilled this week at an elementary school. Amalia Barrera shows the mission is to find out how many people may have been exposed.
Introduce yourself, explain what you're doing.
9 specialty teams got their instructions from the EPA. Their mission this weekend, to fan out across the neighborhood surrounding the Grafton Street Elementary School in Worcester. Armed with portable mercury detectors, the teams are testing as many as 100 homes of students who may have picked up traces of mercury taken to the school on Tuesday by an unidentified 6th grade student and tracked the potentially hazardous material home. Most of the children have also given urine samples.
There is a problem, and there are procedures to deal with it. But the point is you have to go out and find it.
Catherine Young says a cleanup crew will be dispatched if mercury is found in a home.
And we're doing that very quickly. As soon as we realize it's contaminated, we'll send a team right over.
At least a half-dozen agencies at the local, state, and federal level have responded to the situation. Even the Coast Guard is helping out. Sean Ducharme has 3 children enrolled at Grafton.
It makes you sleep better at night, knowing that everybody's here right there.
Officials say there has been major cooperation by parents. All of these items in plastic bags, which include backpacks and clothing worn by students, were brought here to the school by their parents, and they're being tested for mercury. Officials say they expect the school will be reopened Tuesday. In Worcester, Amalia Barrera, News Center 5.
Okay, the dog ate my Homer. My car wouldn't start. Those excuses you've heard. Here's one you probably have not. I broke a light bulb and had to clean it up. What? Well, get ready, because it's soon becoming reality. The Environmental Protection Agency issuing new cleanup guidelines for disposing of these mercury-filled lights. Everyone's got to do it, you know. The good news, it just shaved off 5 minutes from what is an 8-step, several-hour process. Now to James Taylor with the Heartland Institute. James, this can't be real, is it?
Well, believe it or not, Neil, it is real. In fact, not only are they telling us that we have to go through these multitude of steps to clean up the mercury from compact fluorescent light bulbs, but they're telling us at the same time that even when you do it, you're still not necessarily going to be safe.
So we have all these incandescent light bulbs in our house, which pretty soon we're not supposed to have, at least the 100-watt variety. We have to get rid of them. There's a procedure for getting rid of them. What if I just dump them in my garbage bill?
Well, you're going to have a problem then, because according to EPA, let me hold up for you. This is a 3-page, it looks like about 8-font print instruction manual on how you're supposed to clean up the compact fluorescent light bulbs. You are supposed to use duct tape to go through every inch of the floor to clean up the material. You're not supposed to vacuum. You have to have a mason jar with a metal sealable lid. You can't just put it in a plastic garbage bag or even a Ziploc bag, because a mercury vapor still escape.
All right,
and
James, these guys have way too much time in their hands. So now I'm running late for work because I'm going through, you know, this whole process. I'm sure my bosses here would be amenable. But it's a multi-hour process. Some told me as long as 8 hours to get rid of some light bulbs.
Yeah. Here's the important part that you need to remember, is that according to EPA, most of the health damage is done within the first 5 minutes of the light bulb breaking. By the time people read the instruction manual, they've already been exposed to most of the mercury, and most of the harm has already been done. So what's the point?
Well, you're dead, is the point. If I don't do any of this stuff, I was just curious, could I be arrested? In other words, if I just toss my light bulbs and a neighbor finds out, or someone finds out, hey, Cavuto just ditched his light bulbs and threw them in the garbage and didn't follow the protocol, could I go to jail?
Well, it's certainly not out of the question, considering today's busybody state. In many states and localities, there are recycling and disposal laws in place for compact fluorescent light bulbs. You can't just simply put them in your trash. And knowing the environmental activists as we do, you can rest assured that those requirements are going to become more and more severe. And the real question is, why are we mandating these compact fluorescent light bulbs?
Right.
Because we certainly don't have a dearth of energy. We have enough coal and natural gas to last us for centuries. So what's the point of quote-unquote saving energy by exposing ourselves to mercury poisoning?
Well, I didn't realize any of this, but it is interesting. James Taylor, the Heartland Institute, thank you, my friend.
Thank you, Neil.
Florida. None of us like talking about death or about what comes after. But something has to be done with our mortal remains, and for the environmentally conscious among us, this might offer a better option. This animation shows how the machine will work once it's up and running in just a few weeks' time. The body goes in a silk coffin and then is heated in an alkali solution, dissolving all but the bone. After about 3 hours, the effluent is poured into the water system and the bones removed and ground into powder, which can be given back to the families. Critics have described it as washing a loved one down the drain. Not so, say its designers.
This is the resumator, which is basically a chamber. Unlike flame cremation, it's not using combustion. It will use a water and alkali process. And that water and alkali process will chemically reduce the body to ash in a similar time to cremation and removal of any medical implants and fillings, basically, so that doesn't end up in the ash itself.
Its designers say the resumator will reduce greenhouse gas emissions by about 1/3 compared to cremation. It also allows for the safe removal of tooth fillings, which means harmful mercury won't be vaporized and released into the environment. The Florida funeral home's owner is advertising it as green cremation.
It allows us to reduce the amount of mercury that we emit out into the atmosphere. It reduces the amount of consumption of gas. It's a much gentler process on the human remains than the traditional flame-based cremation. And so we believe that the families we serve will find that to be of a real benefit, and we'll probably have a lot of families that want to partake.
But this is not the only alternative to cremation which might be coming our way. A rival process called premession involves freeze-drying our remains. The rose is now so fragile that this is enough to shatter it. Premession is the brainchild of Swedish biologist Susanne Wigmossack. She lives on an island off the Swedish west coast and came up with the idea while composting in her garden. She envisages a fully automated process in which coffins are fed into the machine, which takes care of the rest.
By exposing the body to liquid nitrogen, we can easily vibrate the body down to a powder within seconds. And that frozen powder is then going to the freeze dryer where it becomes dry. And in that stage, we allow the powder to go down to the coffin through a metal separation. So all the solid metals that are within our body as spare parts, tooth fillings and whatever, is separated.
The arrival of these new technologies is going to give us options we could never have imagined. To burial and cremation, we may have to add more possibilities. It's often said we now have more choices in our modern lives. Soon, that may extend to what comes next.